All right, turning now to the president's big news. President Biden calling on Congress to remove the federal gas tax for the next 3 months. And this coming as the national average gas price of an average gasoline is $4.94. So it's been hovering around $5 according to AAA for quite some time now. President Biden's plan now, the chairman of the National Legal and Policy Center, Peter Flaherty, is going to join in on that. American Conservation Coalition Vice President of Government Affairs, Quill Robinson, as well. Gentlemen, thank you so much. Peter, I'll start with you on this. The federal gas tax holiday will reportedly bring down prices 18 cents. Again, they're sitting around $4.94. That's the average. It's much higher in other states. How big of a difference does 18 cents a gallon make? And does that help everyday Americans? Peter.
Well, it's better than nothing. But what happens at the end of 3 months? We still have ESG. We still have John Kerry running around. We still have an energy crisis. This is just more short-termism. It's a Band-Aid approach. You can add that to a long list of Band-Aids like releasing 150 million gallons from the Strategic Petroleum Reserve, which should be renamed the Strategic Political Reserve. It was never meant to alleviate high consumer prices. It was meant to be there in an emergency or in a war. And with all the tension we see in the world right now, I think it's irresponsible of President Biden to tap that resource for political reasons.
Yeah, Quill, one of the news outlets broke this down. Really, you can do it yourself if you'd like, but it'll get you about $2 to $3 every time that you fill up. You get that back in your pocket. Again, how do you read that?
Sure. Well, again, it's a Band-Aid. It's a short-term, quote-unquote, fix to a much longer-term problem that President Biden it's really of his own making. The fact is that the Biden administration has been pursuing policies since day one that have depressed supply of energy in the United States. And the best way to get prices back down is to increase supply. But if we go back to the beginning of this administration, his first move was to cancel the Keystone XL pipeline. So it's an unenviable position that the president is right now, and there's probably not all that much he can do to provide relief, significant relief to American families. But I hope that this is a wake-up call and that in the long run, President Biden and his administration pursue policies that will increase the supply of energy here in America.
And it's very important to point out he doesn't have full Democratic support on this from his own party. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi not specifically getting behind this gas tax holiday. Nevertheless, we go back to President Biden and where he's pointing the finger. And he's pointing it at the war in Ukraine. Here's that moment.
And let's remember how we got here. Putin invaded Ukraine. Putin invaded Ukraine with 100,000 forces. Just look at the facts. Since the start of the war in Ukraine this year, gas prices have risen by almost $2 a gallon in the United States and sometimes more around the world.
Peter, your thoughts on that and that response, again, putting the blame on the war in Ukraine when we've seen the prices go up before that.
We were on the verge of an energy crisis before Russia invaded Ukraine. The administration has been pushing things like ESG as part of a long-term war on the oil and gas industry. Schizophrenia is a mental illness. It's not a political program. The president is blaming everybody but his own defective policies for rising gas prices. And the problem is that these policies have been in the making for a long time. First world activists have brought us this crisis, and there's no easy solution. What we do need is a total change in thinking, and I do think that the president and his supporters are going to be mugged by reality, and we are going to have to find ways to increase our oil and gas production, no matter how it's packaged by the administration or how much they claim they're not rescuing oil and gas.
Let me get to the speaker on this one. I brought this up earlier. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi, in talking about this gas tax holiday, here's what she had to say, Quill.
We're paying for something to give a break to the oil companies that isn't even going to the consumer. So that's the con. The pro is very showbiz. Okay, let's just do something, there it is. But it is not necessarily landing in the pocket of the consumer. It's taken out of the trust fund. We have to pay for that to return it.
It's going to cost around $10 billion. It's taken out specifically from a I believe it's a highway fund that where this money would come from. So it's not free 18 cents off your tank. This is going to come from somewhere, and is it worth it in the long run? Not to mention the possibility of the President of the United States visiting a foreign nation to get oil from there and not from American soil. Final thoughts, Quill.
Well, all I can say as a young voter, I'm looking forward to having some new blood and some new leadership in Congress after that statement from Speaker Pelosi. But here's what I'll say is, look, we can lower energy prices. We can increase energy supply while also decreasing our impact on the environment and emissions that we're putting into the atmosphere. And the fact is that there are policies that will do that. But the Biden administration has been pursuing policies that are driving energy prices up and actually not benefiting the environment. And something I will point to is just a couple of weeks ago, the House Republicans released a plan to reduce energy prices, but also address the issue of climate change. Doing all sorts of things from investing in nuclear energy to producing more natural gas and exporting it abroad to streamlining red tape that's preventing us building out energy here in the United States. And so, man, I think that the Democrats are in trouble this fall, and I hope that Republicans will come in and put in some policies that will actually end up lowering prices of energy.
We'll leave it there. Chairman of the National Legal and Policy Center, Peter Flaherty, and American Conservation Coalition Vice President of Government Affairs, Quill Robinson. Thank you very much. We do appreciate your time. Yeah,
Thank you.
I'll have you back anytime.